Here we go!
There was not always oxygen on Earth. It first only had helium, hydrogen, methane, and other gases. And then
there was life. There was only bacteria at first, and those are really small, so they didn't do very much. But evolution was in play the entire time, and soon photosynthetic cells came to be.
And if you didn't think that was enough, oxygen-breathing cells took over around 2.5 billion years ago.
And came the endosymbiotic theory. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's what scientists call the coming of age of chloroplasts and mitochondria.
A larger prokaryotic cell is said to have engulfed a smaller prokaryotic cell, resulting in the chloroplast and mitochondria.
Chloroplasts create energy from light, and mitochondria create energy through the use of ATP.
These eukaryotic cells had nucleuses, and so they had all the genetic material necessary to perform many functions.
As a result, mutations occur as well, which basically enable the eukaryotic cells to constantly change and produce various different organisms.
These eukaryotic cells made up many multicellular organisms that began to arise around 1 billion years ago.
And then there were the eukaryotes, the gang leaders.
The start of it all, they were multicellular, crazy stuff.
Of course, they didn't just come to chill. They were there for a reason.
This was the start of a new era, and around 570 million years ago came the Cambrian explosion. This was a massive eruption of new organisms, including water organisms going onto land, also known as the infamous Tiktaalik.
Lots of bilaterians developed, and the ecosystems became much more complex than before. There were trilobites, jellyfish, echinoderms, mollusks, crustaceans, and arthropods, just to name a few. Then there were tetrapods and amphibians, which came about 367 million years ago. Earth was definitely advancing, and that was mainly due to evolution.
Fast forward to 435 million years ago, and plants were introduced to the Earth. There were spore-bearing plants that were called gymnosperms that came mostly from forests and swamps. And then, 138 million years ago, there were flowering plants called angiosperms. Key to creating Earth as we know it. 248 million years ago was when dinosaurs roamed the world, and then they became extinct, and it is still debated years later as to how that happened.
This was more famously known as the Mesozoic era.
It was the age of the dinosaurs and was split into the Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous period.
Eventually, with time, other animals evolved from the giant beasts we saw in Jurassic World.
55 million years ago, our world was blessed with birds, reptiles, bats, horses, cats, and whales.
With these animals came various branches and mutations from their common ancestors, which all leads to us.
This human ancestor came about 4 million years ago and was known as the Ardipithecus ramidus. They named her RD for short.
RD was the earliest, unequivocal member of the long lineage extending to anatomically modern humans, Homo sapiens.
This led to the evolution of modern humans like us. Our species faces mutations just like others that harm and protect us.
Not only are we affected by our own mutations, but we are harmed by the mutations of bacteria inside us, which cause antibiotic resistance.
Natural selection is a major part of our lives this way, but humans now also select themselves. This is known as artificial selection.
Artificial selection is used when breeding animals, kind of like horses bred for the Derby to maximize potential speed.
The humans evolved now include the famous Charles Darwin and Jean-Baptiste Lamarck that have furthered our knowledge of evolution through their personal studies and theories.
Hey, Darwin. Oh, wait, didn't see you there. How's your trip to the Galapagos? Nice of you to ask. Actually, the Galapagos have been wonderful to me. All those amazing waters and amazing sand and all that warmth. Not to mention those amazing finches. What's up with the finches? Well, these finches sure do have a lot of differences. Some had these short, stout beaks, and other ones had these longer ones. I have no idea why, though.
Oh, do you have any theories?
Well, then I thought of the idea of natural selection. It was the only way populations could change over time.
Oh, hey, Darwin, before I leave, what is natural selection?
Well, let me tell you, it's the process whereby organisms better adapted to their environment tend to survive and produce more offspring.
Can you give us an example?
Well, that's exactly what the finches did. Do you remember? It was only one finch at the start. And from there, through all this adaptive radiation, came all these different species of them. On the Galapagos. Great idea to go for your vacation.
A few moments later.
Oh, hey, Lamarck. Oh, hey, I didn't see you there. Hey, how do you think organisms change over time? Oh, well, I was working under my man's, Count George, and I believe, inheritance of acquired characteristics. What about those, exactly? If an organism changes during life in order to adapt to its environment, those changes are passed on to its offspring. Kind of like this beautiful giraffe here. First, they used to have short necks, and then the food and water, they couldn't reach it. So then, they got long necks. So you think use and disuse is right then? Yes. After you stop using your organs, like your appendix, it's just not going to exist anymore. And people will be born without them. Huh. Okay.
That is not correct.
2,000 years later.
Hello, Mark. It's been a while.
Hey, I didn't see you there.
Oh, okay. Well, today I have some misconceptions that many people think are true. Care to prove or disprove them?
Yeah, I'm a changed man now.
Okay, so the first one is that evolution causes organisms to improve, and that life has gotten better over time.
No. Evolution doesn't help all organisms. Take us, for example. Bacteria mutate inside us, and then the antibiotics that we use aren't effective.
Okay, and the other one is that evolution is not observable or testable.
Darwin observed evolution on the islands with the finches.
You're right. Another one is that gaps in the fossil record disprove evolution.
Paleontologists have found many fossils with transitional features, and new fossils are discovered all the time. If evolutionary theory were true, we would not expect all of these forms to be preserved in the fossil record.
Hey, Lamarck, I still have 2 more misconceptions for you. Ready? Okay. The fourth one is that natural selection involves organisms trying to adapt. Is that true?
Of course, organisms don't try to adapt. I mean, take the tortoises for example. They just wanted to eat, and then they couldn't reach their food, so the mutated ones with the longer necks were able to survive.
You're right. And the last one is that natural selection is the only way populations can change over time.
Populations could change for many reasons. Natural disasters, immigration, emigration, and other populations can cause changes as well. Artificial selection is also a thing that changes population.
You're right. Getting smart there, Lamarck.
I'm always right.
Oh, hey, Darwin. How's your trip to the Galapagos?
Wow, the Galapagos sure have been great to me.
Oh, hey, Darwin. How's the Galapagos? Wow.
These Galapagos. Sure.
Oh, hey, Darwin. How's the Oh, hey, Darwin. How's the Galapagos?